Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs of Valor. Purpose of the video today is to talk about some presidential candidates and what I look for in a president of the United States of America. Let's go ahead and get started. It's April of 2023 and the election season is upon us. Isn't that weird to say that in a whole more than year and a half ahead of the election that we have to focus on this? And that's what's been happening every single cycle. It's gotten earlier and earlier. So right now we've got a handful of people involved in the presidential race. On the Republican side, we've got Donald Trump, possibly Ron DeSantis. We've got a couple of other people involved in the Republican Party on that. On the Democrat side of the House, Biden says he's probably going to do 2024, although he didn't really, he's ebbing and flowing, whatever his handlers tell him to do. And of course, we've got RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., who is the son of RFK, who was unfortunately assassinated in 1968. It's his son. So we've got a couple of candidates right now. We're starting to paint a picture. So what I look for in a presidential candidate is pretty important to what I believe the future direction of the country should be. And once again, caveat, this is all my opinion. If you're watching this video, you may have different opinions on that. But let me give you some guidelines that I would look for when if I was voting today, some things I would look for in an American president that could represent the entire country. First and foremost, I want to premise this entire video by saying I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. I don't belong to a political party. I'm not a centrist, okay? I'm not a centrist. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not a guy that's like middle of the fence. So sometimes I vote Republican, sometimes I vote Democrat. That's not the case. I am an American first. I am a constitutionalist above everything else. I believe in the limited powers of government. I believe in limited government, not only at the federal level, but also at the state level. I think government should be as small as possible. I think individual liberty should be the entire focus of this country. And I'm not a person that would consider himself a Republican or a Democrat or anything else. I'm not beholden to a political party, in other words. I have seen political parties in this country switch stances on issues. For example, decades ago, what was once a Republican position could become a Democrat position and vice versa. So I'm not a person that believes in political parties. I'm also not a person that believes in an individual candidate. I'm not this cult of personality person. I'm not a person that looks at an individual as some political messiah that's going to somehow resurrect our country. That's not where I'm at. So what I look for in an American president is the following criteria. The first thing I look for in a presidential candidate or someone that really wants to be president of the United States, the first thing I look for is what is their view on the role of government? And what our founders viewed the role of government was a referee. In other words, the government gets out of the way, they fairly and according to strict rules, officiate the game. Government shouldn't be a part of your life. It should be officiating things. And our founders wanted the government out of our lives. They wanted people to pursue their happiness outside of government. That's how our founders viewed this. And so the first piece of criteria I would look for is what is their view on government? What is their view? Is it the view that government should do things for people? Is it the view that government should favor one group of people over the other? Is their view that government should favor one industry over the other? That to me is anti-American, right? So a presidential candidate needs to officiate. They need to be the referee, an impartial referee, if you will. And that is the first piece of criteria I look for. The second piece of criteria I look for, and this kind of dovetails into my first point, is that a presidential candidate should look at the government as a limited entity. They should view the government as something that should be as small as possible to accomplish its goals. And so I look at presidential candidates across the board and I say, okay, which individual is going to shrink the size of the government as it is right now? And which person is going to limit the authority of the government as it is now? Which person is going to trim a lot of the fat? Which person is going to trim unnecessary and unconstitutional entities such as the ATF or the IRS? Which person's going to get rid of that? Because those are unconstitutional entities. People say, what about the 16th Amendment, Reid? Well, that's during the progressive era. I don't think our founders, having fought a revolution on the War of the British over gun control and a 3% excise tax on tea, would accept an entity that at its lowest bracket takes 10% and its highest bracket takes 49% of your wealth. So I think that the IRS was a product of a socialist era, vis-a-vis Woodrow Wilson. Now, we look at that stuff and you say, well, what would we do? How would we fund our country? What do you mean, how would we fund our country? What needs to be funded? How about your daily life? What needs to be funded? You go to work and earn money. What money does government earn, right? So I'm looking at an individual that's going to trim the fat of the federal bureaucracy, if not outright get rid of it all. I'm looking at somebody that's going to get rid of the Department of Homeland Security. I'm looking at somebody that's going to get rid of the NSA and the spying that they've done. I'm looking at somebody that's going to rein in or abolish the FBI. I'm looking at somebody who's going to get rid of the ATF, which violates the Second Amendment by its very virtue of existence. That's the kind of person that I'm looking for in a presidential candidate that will get rid of the bloated federal bureaucracy and scrape off that blemish, that stain on our Constitution and individual liberty. But I'm also looking for an individual as a uniter. I'm looking at a guy that, and look, don't misunderstand me. Do I think there are certain elements in society that cannot be reconciled? Absolutely. I do not think socialist communists can be reconciled to the rest of this country. They're destructive. They're absolute, just horrifying human beings that want to destroy the republic of the United States of America and turn it into a democracy. So I don't think someone that's running for president should be focused on what they say or what they do. I think someone running for president should be focused on the other people in this country, because hardcore leftists, violent people that want to loot, burn, hurt other people, those people need to be put in jail or dealt with the citizens of that country. We need to be able to do that. So what I'm looking for in a president is somebody that's not going to listen to that hard left faction, somebody that's going to be able to unite the rest of the country, regardless of age, regardless of political persuasion, outside of Marxism, Leninism, leftism, Maoism. It's all the same stuff. I'm looking for somebody that's going to be able to do that, as opposed to somebody that's going to listen to the fringe elements of those societies. And on a personal level, I'd just like to say this. I want somebody as president that's going to respect the entirety of the Bill of Rights, which includes free speech, which includes freedom of religion, which includes freedom of the press, which includes freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances, and which also includes the freedom to assemble. And that freedom to assemble also means that we can assemble together, whether there's a virus, whether there's no virus, whether there's a situation, no situation. We need to be able to enjoy our First Amendment rights irrespective of the situations. I'm also looking for somebody that's going to uphold the Second Amendment. Somebody that upholds the Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And they respect that without infringement, without legalese, without infringement or saying which types of guns you can and can't own. I'm not talking about a person who says a piece of plastic is evil and directs the ATF to go against that. And if this offends anybody who voted for a former president of the United States, you need to look at the fruit of the tree. And the other problem that we're looking at is illegal search and seizure from government. Are they going to rein in the intelligence agencies? Are they going to rein in the FBI? Are they going to rein in the CIA? Are they going to rein in the NSA? Are they going to rein in that stuff? Because that's the kind of person that I'm looking for. That's the kind of individual I'm saying to restrict the power of those agencies, if not outright get rid of them. So we're looking at an individual that's quite rare. We're looking at a George Washington. We're looking at a Cincinnatus throughout history. We're looking at a truly benevolent individual that's a once-in-a-history figure. And I want you to look at the candidates that are running for president at this time, and ask yourself if anybody fits that criteria. Because I think you'll find that former presidents, current candidates, many of them, not only don't fit that criteria, but there are many of them that advocate quite the antithesis, quite the opposite of that. People that have violated our Second Amendment. People that would expand the size of the government. People that would take away your wealth. And I think you need to understand words and actions are two vastly different things. This is what I look for in a president. People would call me a purist. People would call me an absolutist. I don't think so. I don't care about parties, and I don't care about individuals. I care about actions and I care about principles. And before I vote and put my name down for somebody as President of the United States, I'm going to make sure that that individual, no matter what party they're with, meets the principles that I just advocated for in this video. If you have different principles, please be able to articulate why and think if it's a good thing or not. And you can talk about practicality till the cows come home. Practicality gave us Mitt Romney. Practicality gave us John McCain. Practicality gave us every other president that you can remember in your memory. Practicality doesn't work. What works is principles. And if people aren't willing to articulate those and live up to those, they need to be fired and put out of office. This is Reid Henrichs of Valor reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.